One of the first rules of the aviation industry is that, in general, you don't want to be in the news. When you're running an airline and everything's going well, then you're out of the headlines. It's only when things go wrong that you start to get noticed. It's like playing on the offensive line in the NFL. If fans are noticing you and announcers are saying your name, it means you're screwing up. It's not a good thing. And by that metric, things have been going pretty badly as of late for Alaska Airlines. The last 14 months or so have not been kind to the airline. First, there was the whole situation on board Alaska Air Flight 2059, operated by Horizon Air for Alaska Airlines. As I remember, an off-duty pilot who was tagging along in the cockpit decided to try to crash the plane mid-flight. He attempted to disable the engines with the fire suppression system while they were flying over Portland, Oregon. That episode didn't exactly inspire confidence in Alaska Airlines' hiring process. By the way, that pilot was charged with 83 counts of attempted murder, but he immediately got out of jail after posting a $50,000 bond. So that's like $600 per person he tried to kill, just in case you're wondering how the legal system works in Portland. In any event, back to Alaska Airlines. Then there was the whole door incident where the door blew off the Alaska Airlines passenger jet in midair. Again, took place over Portland, Oregon. And again, it made people wonder what exactly was going on at this airline and how they were overseeing quality control in their planes. I probably didn't help matters for the airline when I found this footage on TikTok from the contractor that assembled the door, which is called Spirit Aerosystems. The footage identifies the engineering dream team at the organization. And in case you missed it, here it is again.
Let's go, girls. Come on.
All right, so we remember that one. It might actually be the exact same. Those are Kathy Hochul's dancers, too, I think. These people get around. Now, to be fair, those sassy women didn't work for Alaska Airlines, but Alaska Airlines does still rely on these sassy women to make sure the doors don't fly off in flight. There's a lot of trust there. It turns out, despite these ladies' obvious dancing prowess, that trust was sorely misplaced. That brings us to the third and most recent embarrassing episode for Alaska Airlines, which was just reported a couple of days ago. And once again, it appears that Alaska Airlines has put far too much trust in women who like to dance instead of doing their jobs. Specifically, a flight attendant decided to celebrate the end of her 6-month probationary new hire period by twerking on an empty flight during a layover at 6 a.m. while waiting for the pilots to arrive. And she then posted the footage to TikTok. Here's what the video looked like, although the audio was originally a rap song called Ghetto that's been dubbed out for copyright reasons. For context, the caption on this video on TikTok, as written by this flight attendant, was, quote, "Ghetto bi till I die. Don't let the uniform fool you." Bi? B-I-H? What, is that a typo, or is it? That's supposed to be... Oh, that's... Okay. So is that how the kids are saying these days? Do they say it that way, or do you just write it that way? They say it that way. All right. Those sons of biz. Now, because, of course, when you're 30,000 feet in the air, cruising along at 400 miles an hour, you really want the crew in charge of your comfort and safety to be ghetto. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I can't tell you how many times I've had a flight, and afterwards somebody asked me how it went, and I was like, oh, it was nice. It was a great flight. Crew was very, very ghetto. It was wonderful. Anyway, here's the clip. Okay. Oh yeah, there's no music. So anyway, there she is twerking. It's so much more awkward without the music. And okay, good. Now, very soon after Alaska Airlines saw this clip, in a rare example of accountability in modern society, they fired the flight attendant for violating their social media policies. And that decision led the flight attendant to set up one of the most entertaining GoFundMes that we've seen in a while. As of today, it's raised about $2,000 of its $12,000 goal, and which is way more than it should, but not exactly hitting the goal. Not hard to see why. The pitch isn't exactly the most compelling. It reads, quote, "I never thought a single moment would cost me everything. I worked as a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines for over 6 months. In between those 6 months, both of my English bulldogs died unexpectedly. My relationship was rocky because of the time I spent away, but I love my job, meeting new people, seeing the world, and creating a safe, welcoming environment for passengers. Although this was my dream job, I was using the income to fund my blossoming lingerie and dessert business." Then she gives the name, which I'm not even going to pass along. Both of your dogs died. First of all, that's a bit I mean, sorry for your loss. That's a bit suspicious. Were you too busy twerking and you forgot to feed them? I mean, how do they both die? So she's a bit of an entrepreneur, already identified something of a marketing opportunity here. It's enough to make you wonder if that was her goal all along. But then again, the GoFundMe isn't exactly generating a lot of interest, so it stands to reason that these businesses aren't taking off either. And as she goes on, she says that she's desperate to find another flight attendant job. And she also launches into a series of additional excuses. Quote, I was also celebrating the end of probation and making it out of a hard upbringing in San Francisco, California. Life, something many people in the industry could relate to. The video went, yeah, they could relate to life? I mean, yeah, true. I mean, we can all relate to life. We all are alive, so we can relate to that experience, but I just don't. Why does your life involve twerking on an airplane? I don't know why. Why is that necessary? She said the video went viral overnight, but instead of love and support, it brought unexpected scrutiny. Without warning, they terminated me. No discussion, no chance to defend myself, and no chance for a thorough and proper investigation. Losing my job was devastating. I've always been careful about what I share online, and I never thought this video, which didn't even mention the airline by name, would cost me my career. That's you being careful? I would hate to see, if you got a little reckless, what you'd be putting online. So I guess she thinks that Alaska Airlines should have called in the FBI to investigate whether she was indeed the ghetto bitch who was responsible for twerking on the plane. Maybe she thinks there's some mitigating factors the airline should have considered, even though she uploaded everything she did on camera by herself, was clearly having a good time. And also, apparently, the airline isn't supposed to be grateful that she didn't explicitly mention them by name in a video where she's in uniform dancing on one of their planes. So, no, this is not any kind of grave injustice, but I will say one thing in defense of this flight attendant, which is that by the standards of modern air travel, she didn't do anything that unusual. I mean, pretty much everything about aviation is now as demeaning and low class as it can possibly be. All this flight attendant did was sort of embrace the fact as openly as she could. And this is a decline that accelerated during the lockdowns from 4 years ago. As the New York Times reported late last year, quote, unruly passenger behavior surged during the pandemic, prompting the FAA in 2021 to implement a zero-tolerance policy for such conduct and begin issuing fines instead of warning letters to offenders. The agency reported approximately 6,000 such incidents in 2021, a sharp rise compared with about 1,000 reports in 2020. The number of incidents reported in 2023 fell to 2,100, but still represented an uptick from the years preceding the pandemic. One of those bras, by the way, took place at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. If you never saw this one, here it is. I'm not sure that using those plastics, so they're using the plastic signs that say, that the floor is wet. I mean, for a brawl, first of all, this is really lethargic. This is a pretty low energy brawl. If you're going to do it, and also if you're going to get charged for using a weapon in an assault, why, that's the weapon you're choosing? At least make it count, is what I'm trying to say. So this is something that at one time in our nation's history, not too long ago, you would just never see in an airport. And now it's common. I mean, at least there were no illegal migrant encampments in the shot, so that's something. And meanwhile, along with flights, customer complaints are also way up. By some estimates, there were roughly 15,000 complaints filed by air travelers in 2019. By 2023, that number had risen to 78,000, which is an increase of more than fivefold. And these are statistics that, if you've been to an airport recently, are not exactly surprising. Also clearly a sign of much larger problems. We went from people flying in their Sunday best to twerking flight attendants and fist fights, WWE Royal Rumbles in the terminal. And we made that transition because air travel is a microcosm of American culture at large. More people are incapable of behaving like adults in public than at any other time in American history. We've become far too tolerant of this decay to the point that it's actually kind of surprising that Alaska Airlines actually fired this flight attendant. But you can't stop there. We have to make it very clear that anyone who behaves like this and then proudly uploads the footage to social media will be shamed and ridiculed until they never dream of doing it again, much less setting up a GoFundMe to beg for money. And that is why the self-described ghetto bitch stewardess and every other professional who refuses to act in a remotely professional manner while at work, especially on an airplane, are all today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.